Welcome to Millennium Discourse, discourse number 17 with Sajjad Ayub and Shaykh Ebrahim Schuitma. Submission and witnessing. If there's only one actor, then are we not the actors? We are the witnesses. We've been made to witness. Please explain this a bit further.
So, how can I truly see how extraordinary he is and really affirm the fact that he is the best of planners until I've attempted to plan and failed? So I've got this grand scheme for my life. I'm going to, marry the trophy wife, have the trophy children, have the trophy career, and do the right number of rak'ahs in the masjid, and then I'll have success in this world and success in the hereafter. And aren't I so clever? And I'm in charge of my life. This is kind of like, and then life happens, and this one of your trophy children, God forbid, but one of the trophy children becomes a drug addict. The wife has an affair, or dare I say, you have an affair. You get a dreaded disease in your 30s when you're supposed to be making all this money, and you become completely incapable, or you lose your job, or life intervenes. These grenades of catastrophe get rolled through your door, and what's left after the blast is a completely irrevocably disarrayed shambles. And you might think, well, that's not going to happen to me. Well, dare I say, there will be a grenade. It's just might not be the ones that I'm describing now, but there is going to be a grenade. It's going to get rolled through your door, where your schemes are going to be reduced to disarray. They are going to be reduced to shambles, So what is the purpose of that? Is so that you can drop your hands, take them off the steering wheel, and just for a moment recognize that you've already been given far more than what you could ever want to go and get for yourself. And that what you have is amazing. You see, this pursuit of all these outcomes that we want on our lives comes at the price of a judgment. And the judgment is that what I have is inadequate. I've got to get better. I've got to get more. I've got to get different, That appraisal that what you have is inadequate bespeaks of a number of kind of flaws, actually. First of all, it speaks of an inaccuracy of perception, because how can it have been inadequate? For heaven's sake, it's produced you. Not only has it produced you, but it's produced you. It's only made you possible because it gave abundantly. It's not inadequate. It's extraordinarily adequate. So we lose this experience of amazement at how extraordinary our lives are, because we convince ourselves that our lives are just not extraordinary at all. They're just very mediocre things, and we have to make them better. We've got to make something from our lives. We've got to go out and go and get what we want from life, And now the point is that he's actually put that little flea in our ear. You make yourself this sense of inadequacy that produces the condition you have to go and make something of your life. You know, where does that come from? Well, you didn't invent it yourself. Nobody invents misery for themselves. It's a miserable experience. So where does it come from? It was put into you. It is put into you so that you can aim yourself at this quixotic journey of trying to achieve things in the world and fail at them, so that you can then eventually sit down in your armchair and say, but you know, I didn't have to leave home to find out what I've discovered now. But actually discovering now is made possible because I left home and failed to discover just how amazing home actually is. And what is home? Home is your nearness to your Rabb that you had before you started this journey of being a human being with human aspirations. You know, that's home. That's the home we're all aiming to get back to anyhow. All your desires will be requited there. All your needs will be addressed there. All of your sadnesses will be resolved there. You are going to go home. So we get led out into this exile of wanting to achieve stuff, wanting to get stuff, thinking that what we have is inadequate, in order to get to the point where we realize that what we have is completely adequate, that the past of what's gone prior to this was amazing. It's actually produced something which is extraordinary. Now, what's important about this is the person who was me in the past is part of the trick that he played to get me to the point where I am now. You know, he had to get me to construct this life of the trophy wife and the trophy children and the trophy career so that he can roll a grenade into it. So if it wasn't for that, I couldn't be here now. So everything that's gone prior to the moment that you're in is the decree. You know, everything that you've done, everything that's happened, anything that anybody else has done, everything that's happened prior to this moment now is part of the decree. And the decree only has, it has one intent for you, and that is your homecoming. And what is your homecoming? The bearing of witness to the very first, the repeat of the very first thing you bore witness to when you were called out of being. When he asked you, am I not your Rabb? And you said, yes, you are. You're being brought back to that place, you know. So, but how can you be brought back to that place if you weren't led away from that place? And part of what led you away from that place is that you had this flea put into your ear of aspiration, of wanting to make a different life and a better life. And that's fine, perfect, do that, go there. Have the catastrophe so that you can come home and recognize that he is in fact your Rabb. He is in fact truly your Rabb. You cannot do better for yourself than what he already has done for you. That you can afford to hand the entire affair over to him.
So for most of us, responsibility is about putting our hands on the steering wheel of life. It seems counterintuitive to take the hands off the steering wheel. We kind of spoke about this before. Can you explain more on that?
You know, it's like with all of these things, the problem's a bit more subtle than they're just a simple binary like that, you see. So hands to the steering wheel. Why are your hands on the steering wheel? Is you're trying to aim your life in a direction that you're trying to achieve. So it's about managing outcomes. We seem to think that responsible people manage outcomes. So I want to give you a thought experiment. You own 2 farms. Have we spoken about the 2 farmers? I don't think we have. No, we haven't. You own 2 farms. And let's find 2. Oh, we'll find the same dramatis personae that we had before. Isa and Ahmed. Right. So Ahmed is the good farmer. He works very hard at producing this crop. He's very skilled. He's been to the right agricultural college. He does everything that's...
Yes, we have gone this one.
We've spoken about this, right?
Yeah, the one that sits on the veranda and has...
Exactly. So which one of those 2 would you call the responsible farmer? Well, let's just tell the story again, because somebody listening...
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. The guy does everything required of him, and he gets a bad crop because there's a plague of locusts.
Hmm.
So he's worked very hard. Disaster, he loses the crop. The second guy, Isa, he's lazy, he does nothing. He sits drunk on his veranda, farmhouse veranda, the entire season. But lucky for him, everything goes right in the season. And as a result, he gets a good crop. So which of the two would you call the responsible farmer, and which would you call the irresponsible farmer?
Well,
Ahmad, Isa's irresponsible and Ahmad is responsible.
Exactly.
Interesting who produced the result. Do you understand? Yeah. So this idea that you are responsible for outcomes is completely insane. We did speak about this, that, the drawing of the bow is up to the archer. The flight of the arrow is up to Allah. The outcome isn't your problem. So if we say, take your hands off the steering wheel, what we're trying to say is stop trying to own the result. Stop trying to own the outcome. That's not that it's unjust to feel that you're accountable for that. You can be accountable for what you're doing right now in the moment that you're in, the appropriacy and the adequacy of what you're doing right now. That's your accountability, not the result. So when you're trying to achieve the result, then if you're trying to hold yourself accountable for the results of your life, well, that's just naive. So what do I mean by this? I know that to achieve a reasonable result of my work week, let's say I need to, a sales environment. The sales environments are very easy to kind of understand in terms of this sort of thing. I need to call 50 people. I need to, get a good script, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll probably make, I don't know, sort of £10,000 sales. That's my work week, right? Now, should something intervene, so there's been a sudden, I don't know, COVID intervenes, and despite everything that I do, nobody's got brain space to buy anything, never mind my widget, And if I base my happiness on, well, at least I'm doing the best that I can, and I make that the focus, then I'm not overwhelmed by the loss of the £10,000. But if it's all about the £10,000, then I get overwhelmed by the catastrophe and I no longer do the thing that's required of me. So don't make where the arrow hits your problem. Make this side, what you're doing, make that your problem, So don't make your responsibility getting the result. Make your responsibility to do the thing that you're doing well, to the best of your ability.
You also used the metaphor of being like a frightened child in the company of its mother. This seems the very opposite of what I think we need to be, i.e. tougher.
So this sort of kind of a Rambo image that the guy who can sort of what the Americans say, kick ass and take names, that kind of like slap them about and fix them. That really isn't the demeanor of a Muslim. That's not who we are. That's is it appropriate to be frightened? As a human being? Well, you clearly have a completely bizarre view of scale if you aren't. If you're looking out at the world around there saying, yeah, I've got my thumb on this thing. Phew, really? You actually, the prospect of staying alive moment by moment is physically impossible. So for you not to look at the world with some sense of kind of like, ish, I'm vulnerable here, is not seeing things as they are. However, that doesn't mean to say that one should be in fear, because we know that we have a Rabb. We have a protecting guardian. We have a nurturing parent being who is protecting us like a mother protects us, that we can take our concerns to, that we can take our vulnerability to. And that doesn't mean to say it takes our vulnerability away. He protects us from the consequences of our vulnerability. He protects us from the consequences of our failings. So it is absolutely appropriate to be the person who, not the arrogant one who thinks he's in charge, but the slightly kind of, and I'm not saying fear-driven and fearful and timid, but careful, and a little bit, dare I say, understanding, knowing that you aren't adequate to protect yourself from all the eventualities in your life. That your life has got things in it that are unmanageable, that are going to destroy you if you're not protected from them. And not to recognize is really being naive. I mean, that's not recognizing how things actually are.
You describe also keeping all of our projects going, but to approach them in a sense of play. What do you mean by this?
So, if you think, if you think about sport, for instance, I mean, my sons were all great football. Well, they were great for that. That's a very bad statement, but they loved football, and they still to this day, one of them still plays, and but amateur. I mean, they enjoy the game. They enjoyed the game very much, and over the years, I've seen different coaches of these kids. You see, so a really bad coach is one who makes the winning of the game everything, who will demean kids, he will abuse them, he will shout at them for having such a stupid thing to have made the kid let it all through. The whole purpose of playing the game is to win. What also becomes true for a coach like that is that he'll turn a blind eye on a kid who fouls another kid, as long as the kid who's doing the fouling is on his team. If the referee didn't see it, way to go, my boy, because winning is everything. Now, the problem with a team that plays like that is actually they can only be happy maximum half of the time, because half the time they're going to lose. So you get another kind of a coach that when he coaches these kids, it's not just about winning. It's not just about getting the result that you want, but it's about having a good game. And even a game where you lost could be a good game, because you learned something and you got slightly better at that. I mean, we did lose the game, but slightly better at that thing. You kind of passed better. You kept your positions better. Then if you have that approach, you can actually win every game. But then you've turned the game into a game. It's something that you play with. You experiment, play in the sense of experiment. I mean, so you carry the thing lightly. Not everything has to win. I mean, it's not about winning at all costs. It's not about always coming first. It's about carrying the thing lightly, so that you can have a sense of curiosity and enjoyment in the process, and not just be fixed on the outcome. So if you live your life like that, that makes for a pleasurable life. But that doesn't mean to say you now become frivolous and dismissive. That doesn't mean to say you trivialize things. It's precisely because you take what you're doing in every situation that you're in very seriously, that you then give enough attention so that you can enjoy it. I mean, you know, if I do something, if something's only important because it's helping me to get a result, then the thing that I'm doing is trivial. It's just the means. But if I'm doing the thing to do it well, there might still be a good result. But then doing it well is no longer trivial. If part of doing it well means that I'm curious about it, that I have a sense of lightheartedness about doing it, you know, that means to say that I can have that approach to things without trivializing, without demeaning, you know. So that's exactly what I'm trying to suggest we should do. And that's certainly a skill we should be giving our kids. You know, this thing that you've got to win at all costs is ridiculous, you know. And we see it so often in children, with parents these days, you know, that you know, the value of the child is all in the grades. And then we wonder why we got these really depressed adolescents who, if they aren't managing to escape by using drugs, they either having prescription or non-prescription drugs to get through their adolescence. And it's purely because of the sort of expectations we put on these young people, you know. I mean, I don't think when we started off just fresh from the garden that we were designed to spend 18 years behind books. Yeah. Now it's like up to your 30s, you know, sometimes. Your education is not complete. That's ridiculous. When are you going to have a life?
Well, doctors and architects, they go through that period, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, they're up into the late 20s.
Yeah. And then they can start to have a life.
Yeah, then they begin life.
Yeah. And then we're concerned about, you know, he's not married yet. Well, what do you expect?
Or she.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
And you explained that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves nothing more than the tawbah of the sinner, to turn back to him. It's a bit like a Catholic confession.
Well, no, it isn't. He was a hidden treasure that wished to be known, which suggests that love to be known, that suggests that that discovery is part of the story. Now, if the thing hadn't been hidden in the first place, then it can't be discovered. Then it was always in plain sight, you know. So it has to be covered. And by the way, that's exactly what kufr means. And all error is, in a sense, an expression of that. It is a covering of the truth. So us covering the truth from ourselves is I mean, that's the human condition, because that's what we do. We're made weak. We're going to get up to mischief. That's what's going to happen, you know. That's so much part of the design that it is the precondition for us to do the uncovering, which is going back, rediscovering. And it's that aha moment, it's that release, it's that amazement. That is the purpose of in fact, the very first moment, the Big Bang was the precondition for all these things to happen, to produce this one creature that can affirm that indeed he is the Rabb. And how do I affirm that he is the Rabb? As I say, I discover that, listen, I tried to do things in my own interests. And you know what? It was an unspeakable catastrophe. Believe me, he is the Rabb. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much for that. And on that note, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.